Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to be dyeing with pokeberry. So I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. For this video you're going to need a spoon to stir your yarn and to collect your yarn from the dye pot. I'm using an old crock pot, but you can use an old pot on the stove. And of course you'll need some yarn. This has already been pre-washed, and I have, you'll see in the video, I have soaked this in just warm water to open up the fibers to let more dye in. You'll also need vinegar. You can use a 12% like I do. That's just an agricultural vinegar. You should be able to get it from any farm supply store near you. You can also use household vinegar or pickling vinegar. You will get different results. I got this beautiful raspberry color with household vinegar, and I also mordanted the yarn with vinegar as well. So this gave me this beautiful color with low heat, which is what you need for pokeberry. And then this beautiful purple is actually the same yarn that's in the rest of the video, and it is with just a splash of 12% vinegar. But it turned out so beautiful, and I'm so happy with it. You're also going to need a recipe, so you can use what I'm using. If you want to follow the recipe that I'm using to a T, you can find it in Rebecca Burgess's book Harvesting Color. She's got all kinds of beautiful recipes. Can I open up to a recipe? Oh, actually that's the pokeberry dye recipe right here. So that's the color she got. These are some pokeberries. That's what pokeberry will do to your hands. And that's just separating berries. So that recipe is in her book. It's an absolutely great book. Some of the plants you can't find around Ontario, but most of them you can. And I really like this book because it's very clear instructions, and you can follow it super easy, and you don't need a lot of tools or anything special to do this recipe. So that is the color of the pokeberry dye. I have my wooden spoon here, so you can see I've used it to dye with indigo. And I'll just take some of this, and you can kind of see how dark and purple kind of colored it is. So just gonna stir this around and squish the berries down. In the recipe that Rebecca Burgess used, she smashes up all the berries into like a strainer, and then takes that dye and adds water and her vinegar solution to it. But I'm just squishing it down here because I don't have a strainer yet just for dyeing. My mother would kill me if I used hers, her good one, so I'm not doing that. So yeah, just squish up all the berries. Probably missed some, but that's fine. If you do it through the strainer, obviously look at every single berry. Maybe you can use like a mortar and pestle. But yeah, I'm like, look how nice and dark that is. I think it's just fabulous. So we are almost ready to begin. Now, like I said earlier, I did pre-wet my yarn and get it just so the fibers have opened up. It's still a little warm, and I have started to heat my crock pot. Crock pots are the best for dyeing because you don't really have to watch that they boil, and the heat stays pretty consistent. It's kind of warm. It's getting there. I got this one just from my old high school teacher, posted on Facebook, and she gave me 2 of them, and they're super great, and they do hold a lot of yarn. I have dyed at least 2 skeins with this. This one in particular, I do have one that's smaller, and it just does about a skein, a couple mini skeins. But yeah, it's really, really nice to have, especially when you don't always have access to a stove. So you can use this outside. It's great for outside dyeing, which is what I'm doing now. So I'm going to just place my yarn in, and because I don't want my hands all pokeberry dyed for work tomorrow, I'm going to squish it down. Now you want enough water and solution in here that your skein is covered completely, and it can move freely around in your dye bath, because you will stir this every so often while you have it in here. So I'm just trying to make sure that the first introduction to the dye pot gets a good saturation. It's looking really nice. I'm hoping I can achieve that nice burgundy color that she got from the recipe. So the recipe was actually created from a woman named Carol. I forget her last name, but she was at a dye class, and she was dyeing with pokeberry. Well, she was dyeing with other materials, and then they ran out of dye stuff, so she suggested pokeberry, and her and another classmate went and got some and tried it, and they were dyeing with it, and they're like, not really what we want. So they added some vinegar. I've used 12%, which is an agricultural / industrial vinegar, but household vinegar works too. And I just did a splash. In the original recipe, I followed it to the T, and I mordanted the yarn with it, but this time I just did a splash, and I've let the berries soak in here for about a week, probably about a week. You don't have to wait that long. The dye comes out really easy. If you squish a berry in your fingers, you get the dye right away, so that's nice. But yeah, I just did for a week, and just add some water just from the tap. The kind of water that you use will affect your results. So this is just tap water from our well on the farm, so that will differ from using like distilled water. A lot of people like to dye with distilled water because it's a pretty even pH. It's about a 7, which is neutral, and then you add your vinegar, which makes it acidic, which you want, and then you just go to town. You just add a splash of that into here and your yarn, and I just added enough water to cover the yarn to make sure it's pretty much covered. And yeah, perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to let that sit for about an hour or 2, and we'll come back and check it, and I will show you guys what it looks like after 2 hours. And then I'm also going to record a couple days or a day or so later and show you what it looks like after a day of sitting, because when I go to bed tonight, I will turn this off and just let it sit until tomorrow night when I get home from work, and I will check the color again. I'll bring you guys along for that. You can see the color. So yeah, about 2 hours in, this is what the yarn looks like. It's kind of dark, I can't really tell. It's this really soft kind of raspberry color, like the yarn that I showed you earlier. So see how it does overnight and come back to it. It's tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to turn this off and let it soak overnight. So there you have it. That's how you dye with pokeberry. I hope this video was educational for you. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'm hoping to do more of these dye videos, so you can let me know what you want to see next. Hoping to do a basic overview of dyeing, the different dyeing terms. I also want to do a video on indigo and madder, some of the basics, some other different plants as well, like sumac. I really like dyeing with sumac and get some beautiful colors from that. So yeah, have a great day, guys.